Welcome to Wine and Wingspan, a weekly podcast where your new book besties, Jess and Jo, review their favorite and least favorite reads over a bottle of the good stuff.
We're here to have a good time and certainly don't want to ruin yours, so please check the title and trigger warnings so nothing is spoiled.
You may find that your opinion differs from ours, and we want to hear about it. So follow us on social media and let your voice be heard in our comments. Without further ado, cheers!
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Wine and Wingspan. We're your hosts, Jess and Jo, and every week we come on here, not every week, it's like sometimes we come on here and we talk about books and fairy smut and all that stuff. And we drink drinks, and today we're drinking pumpkin spice latte. Because as we're filming this today, or yesterday was pumpkin spice latte day. So, if you're a PSL hater, frankly, get the fuck out. I'm just kidding. I'm not. I don't really mean that. But we are a pumpkin spice family.
Yeah.
So it is spooky season. We're gonna start talking about spooky things next time, right? Yeah, next time.
I think so.
So next episode is gonna be about Twilight.
I'm so excited.
So
I think it's Twilight, yeah.
Yeah,
And
we're
then it's
gonna
Bride.
get into our vampire era, and then we're gonna get into our werewolf era. I'm very excited to explain nodding to all of you. Can't wait for that. But today we are talking not about a spooky book. We're talking about a cozy book, a book that reminds me of fall, a book that I love deeply. And shout out to Travis Baldree. Cool, really cool guy actually, really nice. And it is this book, Legends and Lattes, which is a huge, massive recommendation from me. Spoiler alert, I give this book a 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite books. It's so good. But also because, here on Wine and Wingspan, we're educational. We're an education channel.
Like
so
the PBS of smut.
Yeah, period. No, period. What does PBS stand for?
Public broadcasting something?
We
I made that up.
publicly broadcast smut onto the internet. So we are PBS. Welcome, PB Smut. So we are going to talk about this book today. We're going to jump into some history of Sappho's, because if you haven't read this book, it is a sapphic novel, meaning that it is a lesbian romance. This book, it's kind of like a 1 on the cherry pepper.
I was like, what does that mean?
Chili pepper list.
Oh.
It's not very spicy. It is a romance. It's a very beautiful romance. And I honestly, I love spicy lesbian romance. Because if you know me, like, lesbian romances are my theme. So I am very gay. But this is just a sweet, wholesome lesbian romance, which as a queer woman, I loved to see. Like, it really means a lot to me to have that, like, level of representation. Because a lot of, like, wholesome, sweet romances are, like, straight couples of, like, the classic grumpy sunshine. And this was super different. So we're going to talk about the history of Sappho's, and then we're going to talk about how much I fucking love this book. So buckle up and let's, like, dive. Also, elephant in the room, we're together in the same room. Surprise, shoddy. But we haven't gotten a phone together since, like, Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the solstice episode was the last time. It's been like 8 months, so.
Oh yeah, it has been a long time.
Yeah, so.
You gotta quit traveling so much.
I really gotta stop. Because I'm exhausted. But without further ado, let's talk about Sappho's.
So, sapphic novel. Sappho's is the name. It's Greek. For those of you guys who don't know, I actually didn't know a lot about, so my wheelhouse is a little bit of Greek, but mostly Egyptian, Roman, and just old stuff, I guess. Greeks, I just kind of like whatever, they're there. So I did kind of ignore them a little bit. But I was really excited because I did not know the story of her, and I've never read any of the poetry. We were talking about that right before we started filming, and I felt like really moved by her work, and I was shocked how I was able to relate to her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At, like, so many years apart. So
Very ally of you.
yeah, I know. I'm like, wait, am I gay?
Oh my god. This is an awakening.
I was like, it's like every girl
Questioning
watching
things.
Stick It in 7th grade.
You're
like, wait a minute.
So what was your, like, moment you realized you were gay? For me, it was like Shigo. Well, for Jess, it was reading Sappho's at 30-something years old.
You have to like pause for a minute. You're like, oh, is this normal? Do I need to get a divorce? No. Little complex moments there. Anyways, so she was a poet. One reason why she was really important, she was female. So back then, obviously we don't know. We like to think we would live in these times, like in Bridgerton or Egyptian times, but as a female, you probably don't want to live in those times.
Probably not.
The Egyptians actually, you got to like own property and stuff, but it still wasn't very great. You didn't have very many opportunities. So she did come from a little bit of a wealthy family, so she could get away with some stuff that other females, common females like us, wouldn't.
Common
Common
horse like us.
So she wrote mostly about women, but she did write about some men sometimes. She was like, well, I guess I can admire her sometimes, you know. Or she might have done that and been like, oh, I'm writing about women too much. Maybe I need to write about some guys. I don't know. That is speculation.
Don't blow your cover, Sappho.
I've read a lot about ladies lately. So most of her poems were meant to be sung. Now, I did try to sing some of these in my own room, and I will not repeat it.
Damn.
It did not show up.
This is not a musical show.
It was also in English, and it wasn't like in Greek because I can't read Greek, so I don't know how to begin. But
any Greeks out there,
yeah,
drop us a video of you singing Sappho's.
It will mean a lot to me. So they called her the 10th muse or the poetess. So there's always like the parallels, you know. We actually talked about this with tarot cards. You know, you have the Pope, you have the Popess and stuff. So they basically created that name for her as the first female poet, which is really kind of cool. So she was really sweet doing that stuff. So also I thought I giggled at this because I have the mind of a 7th grader. She lived on an island called Lesbos. And I was like,
my kind of island.
Yeah. So that's where we get the term lesbian. Obviously, it all comes together. It was very moving, very intimate poetry. She spoke about things the way that you love and worship. Worship is probably really the key word there. More deeply than other poets were. They were kind of, everybody's talking about war, really. And she was like, no, screw that. I want to worship a woman. I want to worship Aphrodite.
She's like the OG, like, woman written by a woman, man written by a woman situation.
Honestly. So her work was aligned with also feminine sexuality. So a big thing was you couldn't be too sexy all the time and stuff like that too. There was a lot of things that it's hard to say what she always wrote about because so much of her stuff was lost. So we can speculate a lot of things, but she was very open about sexuality. Oh yeah, the Catholics came in. Don't worry, they're coming.
Oh,
they're
great.
Coming.
The Catholics always show up.
And they're just there. And so they eventually, everything immersed into lesbian love. And then we got the word Sappho, Sapphic, lesbian, lesbos. Yeah. So it was very deeply personal. I think some of her stuff was never meant to be published. And so when they were talking about it, and this was a couple different accounts, and like I said, a lot of things were lost. So we don't know. We're just making speculations at this point. It was personal poetry, and it was more than just like a physical or sexual thing. It's like my soul speaks to your soul. And that's something I think that we don't get enough of nowadays, you know, unless what's that one guy? Oh, God, the singer. The guy, he's like Irish or something. Really hot. Yeah.
I just saw him.
I hate you. He's modern day.
I felt like we were like making out with our eyes, like meeting, and I'm like, I feel like the music that you're playing right now, Hosier, is making love to me in this stadium. I mean, it was like,
I couldn't have acted normal at that concert.
I wasn't. I was not, and frankly, I may have had a little grass.
Oh, ooh.
And then that really enhanced the experience. So, 10 out of 10 Hosier concert.
So yeah, soul to soul connection, feeling is really important. So she did write a little bit about political turmoil, to empower women.
Okay.
So she took it and she used it. She obviously loved Aphrodite a lot, and I think we need to look at like very old. I mean, prior to the Catholic Church. So basically, before, however you want to call it, if you want to call it before Common Era, before Christ, I don't care, but before Christ to me time period is what you need to look at when you look at her stuff, because when the Catholic Church really started to come in and started to develop after that, they changed the meanings of a lot of things, and that's just normal to us now. We don't see it as anything else, or we aren't able to get a lot of research before that. That's, not speculation, like everything is, really.
Yeah.
So Aphrodite was very powerful. A lot of people worshipped her. She wasn't just like sexy, like we kind of see her as now today. She was in tune with her mind, her body, her soul, however you want to see it, like third eye, however your chakras want to view that. She was the embodiment of what a woman was.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways, and being powerful and owning your power. So that's something that she wrote about a lot and she cared about. So a little bit about her home life. She came from a wealthy family. There wasn't a lot, and a lot of sources conflicted with each other. And so I had a hard time weeding out what was kind of true, what was not. But she either had 2 or 3 brothers, and supposedly, which I found a lot of male things saying this, is that she threw herself off a cliff because a young sailor didn't return her love.
Oh, shut up.
But she wrote about women all the time, but a young sailor didn't return her love, so she threw herself off a cliff.
It's giving hysteria of the 1950s, putting you in an asylum type of vibe. So
Yes.
she was just hysterical. Like,
Yeah,
okay, that is stupid.
I'm pretty sure she was like, thank God he didn't come back.
Yeah.
So, lots of her poems lost or destroyed over time. I think the Vatican has a lot of them. The only poem of hers that is complete that we know of is the Ode to Aphrodite. All the other ones are pieces of it. So if you ever look up her work or anything like that, you'll find that it's only pieces. I think that once again the Pope probably has them because he has everything.
Sad.
So yeah, it makes you think about, we're only getting a small clip of her, of what she really cared about or what she loved, and this might have been writings. You can't really always date these writings. This could have been when she wrote it when she was in her early 20s, or maybe she was 40 when she was writing this, or maybe she was in her teens. Everyone got married when they were like 10 there, so, I don't know. So her story was told over time and obviously evolved into what we talk about it today, and then also with Aphrodite, sexuality, overly promiscuous women. If you talk about Sappho's or Sapphic, you're like, oh, that bitch is a hoe. That's how people evolved that, and that was because Pope Gregory, 5th, 6th, 7th, went through, started destroying a lot of her work and creating based on those rumors, because people were still very in tune with ancient writings and things like that, because for them it really wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't ancient to them. It was more recent. For us, probably what the Regency and the French Revolution and like that era.
So we're able to still pull a lot from that, and even things that we do in our society, what's normal. I mean, we pull from the not ancient world, but American ancient world, what's ancient to us, so
it's just so sad. For a woman to kind of, obviously privilege, but to break a glass ceiling and then nothing to survive that, really.
Have all your crap destroyed because they feel like it,
or at least hidden.
The church did a lot.
Yeah.
They also, if you ever go to the Vatican and you look at all the museums and you wonder why, none of them have penises, it's because they went back and took them all off. That's why there's just balls there. It's because there's too much. It's too much.
Or, ball only. Ball is where we draw the line.
Yeah. No, it's
past the ball?
Small wieners.
No, we can't be doing that.
You can't have any big wieners. You can only have small wieners.
Tiny little
But Romans and Greeks were big dicks mean you're stupid. Small wieners mean you're smart. And I was like, that sounds like a man thing to say to me.
Yeah. It sounds like somebody had a little pee-pee. And felt a little
So that's another reason why a lot of them, when they do have the penis, it is small. Apparently they're smart, I guess. That's what they say. I don't know if I've talked about, I feel like I talk about this all the time, but I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast. It was the other, since we're on the gay theme, and then I want to talk about gay. Gay in history is the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
People a lot of political, not to get political, but a lot of messaging now is that this is this new thing.
No.
When the LGBT community has existed, we have been here.
Yeah.
We've always been here, because you don't nobody just decided 40 years ago that we're all going to be gay now. That is not what happened. We've been around. Transgender people have existed. This is not a brand new concept.
Yeah.
The idea of having like basic human rights and equality may be a
that's a new idea.
But like, or at least a new accepted idea. But like the idea of like people in the LGBT community existing now we're just fresh. That is false.
Yeah.
This has been, and like some of these relationships were wildly accepted or understood by ancient civilizations for various reasons. Like, so yeah, it's nothing new.
The only like rules, and I say rules as societal norms in Roman times, was Roman men were not dominated. You could have as much gay sex as you wanted, but you dominate other people. Yeah. You are not dominated as a Roman man.
Which that already speaks to like this like toxic masculinity. Like it's already like it just gives this idea that like anyone that is on the receiving end is like lesser than. Like,
isn't it weird that women are on the receiving end usually?
That's what I mean. Like it's like any human being, male or female, that is on the receiving end is now like lesser than. Like that is. It's just like, and even in their rules regarding sexuality, they're like, but also people are still like, you're still lesser than. Yeah. It's like so misogynistic and so insanely internalized homophobia. They're like, I could have sex with a man, but only on my terms, guys. And then like with Sparta, I mean, that was like normal. So like.
Yeah, you had like, so basically their whole world was very complex. You had to go into the military at a young age, and then you were partnered with an older male, and typically relationships would form from that. And it wasn't until like you were done with your I guess term in the military that you could go and get married after that. But it wasn't until much later. So there was a lot of stuff. But my favorite group of gay men is called the Sacred Band of Thieves. This is like my favorite thing ever. I'm so excited to talk about this because I thought that this wasn't real, and then once I did a bunch of research, I was like, this is true. So how they call like this
sick ass name, by the way.
Yeah.
Only gay people can do that. Yeah, it's fucking sick.
First off, they're the best. So, you know, like the whole movie 300 and stuff. There was one group of men that were badass, and they did have military forms like that. But I think some of that story came from this because there was a lot of things happening. And I'm trying to do this in Cliff Notes so I don't get too excited. But basically, they needed to clean up a town, and so this group of men came together and formed the Sacred Band of Thieves and basically fucked shit up for years, and no one could ever defeat them. 150 men, and they were all gay partners.
Oh, where's this book?
I know.
All right, challenge to authors. I need the Sacred Band of Thieves romance novel series, Ice Planet Barbarian style. I want a couple per book, less than 200 pages, nothing but just gay romance. I am begging you. All they do is fuck shit up, get money, and have sex. That's all I want.
They were like, not only were they just awesome military-wise, they had like this thing where you work harder for your lover. You want your lover to survive and you to survive. You will kill for your lover. And it created this group of people. They were never defeated until Alexander the Great, who ended up being the greatest conqueror of all time, basically. So, I mean,
and also,
go down at least by him.
The greatest homophobe. Don't fuck off. Let the Sacred Band of Thieves, okay? Let them live and practice their love.
He wasn't Alexander the Great yet once he defeated him, but yeah. I mean, they went on to do
he was a loser.
Crazy like excursions and stuff like that to
this book.
Europe. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that awesome though? I think like that. It's like my favorite thing ever. It's so cool.
If nobody writes this book for me within a year, I'm writing it. Yeah. That is so sick. Cool?
Yeah. And 150. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people to all agree. Yeah. To be clear, 150, they're like, my question is, was it a prerequisite? They're like, all right, awesome fighter. How do you feel about being in a relationship with a man? Scale 1 to 10.
Are you gay? Are you perfect? Sign up.
It's like the opposite of don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
They're like, we are asking, please tell us.
But they weren't just good at like, sword fighting. Well, they were like combat. I mean, they were going in to places and internally just collapsing them, like super secret spy stuff. Like gay would really do in real life.
This is LGBT behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, this is hot. This is a feminine phenomenon.
Yeah.
I am like obsessed. This is my new favorite thing.
Yeah.
The Sacred Band of Thieves.
Yeah.
That is badass.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the title of this episode, is The Sacred Band of Thebes and Legends and Lattes.
Like, Sappho was cool, but.
Listen, that is so incredible.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna like that one. Isn't that neat though? I was like, I
My
went
mind
to one of
is
my professors
fucking
and I was like,
blown.
what do you know about the Sacred Band of Thieves? She's like, what do you know about the Sacred Band of Thieves? It was like a moment that we got to share.
This is sacred information.
She did a lot about research with Roman times and like sexuality and stuff. So she's like, let's talk about the gay men because they were badass. Like,
That is so fucking
Yeah.
sick.
yeah,
Imagine where we would be as a society if we just let gay men just have their Sacred Band of Thieves.
yeah.
again.
We need to put them into every industry and let them dismantle it from the inside.
Yes.
Healthcare, let them handle it.
All right, that's this is our call to action. Men across the country, form your Sacred Band of Thieves. That is also, again, I cannot harp on it enough. That is the most badass name I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Wow,
that is really cool.
incredible.
They also defeated a lot of Spartans, so gay men kicked the shit out of the Spartans.
Whoa.
Period. Yeah. And Spartans are supposed to be the best. Yeah, no, not to
No.
them. They were like
Could
light
be
work.
us.
Like, and they didn't really lose anybody. Like, people weren't dying in their group either. Like, when they would go to battle, they would all basically still be alive at the end.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Well, I bet if their relationships there, like, yeah, like you're probably, like, the stakes are so high
Yeah.
that you're probably making, like, really, really smart choices.
Yeah.
Because if somebody dies like that, it's not only could be your partner, but, like, it's somebody else's partner.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So cool. That's so sick.
I wish that I could like write a dissertation on them to get more like really good stuff, but
Yeah.
sadly I can't.
Well, that was so educational.
I know, you're welcome. PBS.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, well, we're an education channel. We all leave these episodes knowing more. And so now we're gonna talk about Legends and Lattes. This book, I love the series because the tagline for it is a novel of high fantasy and low stakes, and that is like the perfect like description for this
it's
book.
chill the whole
It
time.
is so fucking chill. If you have not read this book and you are looking for a book that, like, no major action happens, but there is a really great plot. There is, like, rising and falling action in the climax of the story. But it is not, like, you know, nobody dies and there's no, like, you know, horrible, horrible, horrible thing that happens. It's, there's no, like, real violence. It's there's like every fight is immediately diffused. It's very that. There are some like bad things that happen, but like, you know, it's really a story of community, of friendship. A general like overview of the story is it is about our girl, what's her name? Viv. And Viv and Tandri are on the cover. Viv has been fighting for her fucking life. It's kind of like what happens to your D&D characters after the party is over. So she's been fighting her whole life, and she gets this really, really rare item of loot, and she's able to use that to open up a coffee shop, and that's all she's wanted. She went to like this gnomish land where they had coffee, and she was like, this shit rules, and I want to bring it to the rest of the land where they don't know about coffee. So, I mean, most of the plot is like, I want to learn how to make a cinnamon roll. Like, how do you even make a cinnamon roll if you have no concept of a cinnamon roll? So she's trying to explain that to them. Same with coffee, like trying to convince people to try coffee. So a lot of the story is her being like, you should try this to people, and they try it and they fall in love and with the coffee and the little snacks, and then she kind of grows this community, and it's really, really sweet. She kind of becomes like the heartbeat of this community and leaves behind her fighting days. But she's also pretty traumatized. Like, she's been through a lot, and some people have it out for her. And so she, you know, kind of like, she finds an assistant named Tandri, who is a succubus. And a lot of people are like, well, you're a succubus, you must like really be like so sexual. But she's like, that's actually not what it is. Like, it's not just about seducing people, and I'm not really interested in men, and they don't understand that. Yeah.
Weird.
And so she and Viv and Tandri kind of grow this friendship, and eventually like this really, really sweet, beautiful love that is based on like common ground of feeling very misunderstood. Like, you know, Viv is so terrifying. She's like 7 feet tall and green and these big tusks, and people think that she has to be like so mean and awful, but she's actually like really kind-hearted and really creative, and
She's
so
just tired.
yeah, she's just tired of fighting. And like that's all that, you know, orcs are really good for, is just
Yeah.
fighting, and she's never really had a heart for it. And for Tandri, like she wants to go to university and nobody takes her seriously, and she wants to do something big in the world, but everybody just kind of boils her down to her sexuality. And I feel like this book is written by a man, which is shocking because Travis does such an incredible job of defining two of the like biggest problems for women in our society today, which is these expectations on women that either all you are is your body and what you look like, or all you are is settling down with a man and having a bunch of kids and, you know, staying in line, don't seek higher education, don't seek a career, don't seek your own happiness. And they really bond over that. And that really, like, it spoke to me a lot that, like, Viv and Tandri both are trying to prove themselves that they're not what they seem. And then they face a lot of obstacles together, and Viv is so used to doing it all by herself because the world is just like, you have to be so tough. And she has a hard time letting like Tandri in, even though Tandri can like really help her. So it was really great. There's like a really, really wonderful character in this book that's a ratkin, like a little rat, and he can't really talk. Like he's like, cinnamon rolls, coffee. Like it's very that. And it's like the sweetest thing ever. It's just really great. It's a 5 out of 5 star read for me. I recommend it to everybody that wants to try a lesbian romance, but has never read one before. And because honestly, a lot of lesbian romance goes hard. Like they are like fucking in the 3rd chapter because you know.
U-Haul lesbians.
U-Haul lesbians. So it's like this book is very slow and sweet, and really like they move in together, but they're not even like in the same room at first, and like their romance is like really slow and careful, and it feels more like a modern romance between a man and a woman, but just like it's between two women, and it's like written so well. I don't know, Travis. I feel very strongly, Travis Baldree, if you're listening, that somehow you have written a book, like you have written a romance by a woman, but you are a man. I don't know how you did it. It is absolutely, it boggles me. Also, another thing that I loved about this book is Viv is under the impression that the only way that she's going to be able to accomplish her dreams is by building her cafe on these ley lines, which are like these like channels of magic that flow through the world. And so the treasure that she steals isn't for money. It's to help her locate the ley lines so she can like build her cafe on top of the ley lines. And the whole time she thinks that the ley lines are what's making her business successful, but really it's her. And I feel like a lot of women can relate to that we are working just as hard as every other man, or if not way harder. We have the same ideas and thoughts and creativity and intelligence and background as any other man. But she's so convinced that it has to be these ley lines that are making her successful and not herself.
There's always an excuse for women of like, well, I'm successful because of that. No, you're successful because of you.
Yeah.
You put yourself there. You did the work. You deserve it. But we have to either like give it to somebody else is why you got here, or, well, I don't know, I just got lucky, man.
Yeah.
Instead of like, no, I don't have to defend my salary. No, I don't have to defend the title I have or what I can do. Yeah. I feel that on an intimate level.
Yeah, it was just like, and also what I loved is that Viv and Tandri didn't have to change. Like, Viv from the beginning she's kind of gruff. She's kind of rough around the edges. She's not really good with words. She's good with, you know, creating an environment that is warm and cozy and inviting and comfortable. And that's what she's good at. And at the end of the story, she's still not eloquent and motherly and all this stuff. She's just her. She's like a little rough around the edges, and that's okay. I love that he didn't overly feminize Viv. Like, it's not this like, oh, and now I'm the pretty princess of the world. Like, she's still in her fighting leathers, and she's still like calloused, and her demeanor is still like brutish, and that's just who she is. And she doesn't have to be a flowery princess to be worthy or to be a main character, but just somebody who, hey, like the plus size representation, incredible.
Yeah.
And to not be like, and she's this big fucking ugly troll. That is not. She's beautiful and she's like worthy, and she doesn't like
She doesn't look
become this skinny perfect blonde princess. Like she's an orc at the end of the story, and she has curves and she has dark hair and she has tusks, and that doesn't change.
Yeah.
And I love that about her. I love that. And
I feel like he didn't make any of that a thing either. It's just there.
yeah.
Sometimes when you highlight it too much, then it's like, okay, now we're creating it. Don't make it a thing, you know.
Yeah. I also love this found family in this
Yeah.
book. There was like Cal and the Ratkin, and there's like this student and this like guy that plays the like a lute situation, and she like, and this like lady that lives across the street that like comes to the coffee shop, and you just like Viv has been fighting her whole life, and she finally like finds her family.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that, and the person that she thought she could trust from her previous life ends up kind of being the rat in her situation. And I love the idea too of finding your purpose in your people later in life.
Mm-hmm.
The other people, like the guy that I forget his name, but this guy that had been after her treasure, Fennis, I think Fennis. He like she had known him for a long time, but it was like the newfound family that she actually connects to, and I love that idea as well. Like as a woman, as anyone in the world, like you can find your people. It doesn't matter where you are in life, and you can make the decision to completely change everything about your life at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And like no age, no like amount of time that's passed is too late for you to decide I want something new and better for myself. So it is like a comfort read, and it is so cozy, but there are a lot of like really beautiful life lessons, and it's a short read. I read this in like a day. But yeah, I loved just a very beautiful and soft and sweet image of like LGBT romance. Oh, that was really nice. Most of the LGBT romance I read is like, and now they're all fucking in like chapter 2. So I appreciated this.
I think it's nice though for somebody who's straight to be like, sometimes it's to read about something that's different than what you're used to like just creep in the water. So if you're like, I want to read more, lesbian novels and stuff like that, but I don't want to dive in just like some of them where we're all fucking, that's a great one to jump into. And then you're like, okay, I really enjoyed this next one. Moving in.
It's really,
it's like people like were edging into any smut at all.
Yes.
It's like, you don't want to start with the smuttiest shit possible because you're probably going to get a little freaked out. Like, let's not start with Haunting Adelaide.
Yeah, right, literally.
Like,
no, that
maybe some little cutesy sex scenes would be nice, and then we'll go into the deep end later.
Yeah, I think what I like about this is this could, like I said, it literally could be between a guy and a girl. It just happens to be between lesbian romance, like between lesbians. I think that if you are, it doesn't matter if you're straight or gay or like what your sexual orientation is. This book is for everyone, and I think that like it's a very, especially in like our world today, like there's so much misconstrued about like what like a lesbian romance, like what a lesbian relationship is even like.
Yeah.
And like demonizing it and all that stuff. Yeah. If you want to actually see what real sapphic relationships are like, just read this fucking book. Like it is to a T. And as someone who's been in relationships with women, this is what it is like. So if you want to know what it's like, here you go. I think it's really great. So it doesn't matter if you are straight and you're watching this, read the Stan book. It's so good. And there's also a prequel, but read it second. It's called Bookshops and Bone Dust.
I haven't read that one.
Yeah, I haven't read it either. I have it, but I haven't read it. It's just so sweet. The story is just beautiful. So, yay. Yay, gay!
Yay, yay!
Yay! I wish we had, I wish we were recording on a Mac device so that we could have confetti.
Oh.
I'll have to put it in post. But yeah, that's it for this week's episode. Next time we'll be back with Twilight.
I'm so excited to talk about Twilight.
I know.
I've been talking about this for like 2 months.
And I think we're only gonna really talk about the first book right?
I think so. We might talk a little bit about the icks of the last couple months.
Yeah, we could probably talk. I think we'll talk about just like a general Twilight overview, and then after that we'll be talking about Bride. And then after that, I'm very excited. October is going to be our Monster Smash, where I'm going to recommend to Jess the most insane monster smut that I have read. I'm going to tell you guys the plot of it. Most of them are under 100 pages, so I'll probably try to put a list somewhere on our profile so that you guys can read along. Most of them are free online, and they're fucking funny, guys. They're so it's to me.
I record me reading it.
This is pure comedy. It is so funny. There's nothing funnier than pumpkin spice flavored cum. That shit is hilarious. So with that being said, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Well, hi, lords and ladies. That is it for this episode of Wine and Wingspan. Make sure you're following us on TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere you listen to podcasts at Wine and Wingspan Pod.
Have a book you'd like us to talk about or a hot take you want us to break down? Send us all your opinions to wineandwingspanpod@gmail.com. May your glass be full and your wingspans be long.